All right, let's go ahead and get rolling here. So we get more people. FS got that going on. All right, so today's subject is creating revenue outside of real estate. Right. So how do you make more money? I'm going to read the exact building wealth beyond commissions. So what we want to do is what we talk about today is basically, and we'll have our panelists say a couple things. We only got a few people on the panel here today, and then we'll open up to you guys what you guys are doing, and I'll tell you what I'm doing. So Dennis, what have you been in real estate for 612 years? Talk a little bit about how you've built wealth. You've done very well, outside of just commissions.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few different things you can do. Hi, everyone. You know, us as realtors, we're always looking at properties. Let's say we go on a listing. We always look at it like a commission, right? One of the biggest mistakes I made is not buying some of the properties that I went on, right? So if you see a good opportunity, guys, don't just sit there and think of it as like a sale. Think of it like maybe this is a good long-term investment. So, I did okay. I bought several properties. I own several properties, which is another good thing I did to create wealth over time, rental income. But I could have done better, right? So for the younger guys, people on here, 30 years or whatever, I would say my biggest recommendation is to buy one property a year. Just set that as a goal, at least one property a year, and you'll be amazed at what you can create in 20 years. The other investment tip that I can give is once you do accumulate some rental properties, once some of them cash flow, what you want to do is you want to take the cash flow you get from one of the properties and pay off like the first property. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you have five properties, and let's say between those five properties, you cash flow $1,500 a month. Let's just pretend that after debt service. Take that $1,500 a month, go to property number one, and pay down that principal until you own it. Now you own a property, it's free and clear, right? And just keep doing that over and over and over. If that makes sense. So basically, you're not taking your cash flow from the property, but you're paying off and creating wealth. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
That's a great tip I got from a really, really good investor that owns hundreds of properties, and that's basically what he did. Is he just went over and over and just kept doing that. Randy Zimnock, who's not here, he knows the person I'm talking about. So, again, take the profits, whatever you're making, put that towards the principal of one property. Once that's paid off, just continue that process. Right now, you have a paid off property where you're getting 100% of that revenue. Right now, you could do it to the second property and just do that over and over. Over the course of 20 years, you're going to own, a big number of properties that are paid free and clear. So those are my two tips. Investment in real estate is what I did, and I own duplexes down in Florida. Mitch, I bought something from you before. That's the way to go. Is don't always look at your listings or a property and think about commission. Think about first, if I bought this, would that be good for me? And then if it's not a good one, then move forward on it as a listing. So little tips.
Yeah, it's funny because Dennis, when you look at realtors, and I've been guilty of this, like, how many people have you made millions of dollars?
Oh, so many, right?
Right? How many people have you made millions of dollars and you didn't do it for yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll give you some ways of doing that pretty easily when I talk. Cam, what do you got, bud? You've done really well too. Tell us some things that you're doing.
Yeah, so I'm gonna not give you that was great, Dennis. I loved how you kind of actually went into a specific thing that you can do. I'm gonna be real quick because obviously I really like the roundtable idea and I want to hear the questions, but I want us to shift, or I want you to at least consider shifting your mindset from what I call a salesperson mindset, which means that today your effort is going to earn you $1, and the more effort you put in, the more dollars you're going to earn, and you need to incorporate the idea of being a true business owner. And that is what you need to really think about, in my opinion, when you do reach the income level that you're currently at or you're trying to get to, is that it needs to shift away. Because the thing that I have found, and I've spoken with amazing real estate coaches in this industry, is that it's a wheel, right? The more you work, the more you make, the more you work, the more you make. But when you stop doing that first part, everything turns off. And that is a really scary thought if you really think about it, because I've seen this in my parents. My parents are now retired, very successful agents in their time. They have horses, they got horse property, they do all of that. But you know what, you guys, is I know their finances. I manage some of that stuff. And it's scary after 5, 10, 15 years of turning off that engine. So the biggest thing I've always really tried to implement into my agents is that when you do get that commission check, so you got to do the hustle first, you guys. You got to be the salesperson. You got to make those big commission checks. You got to fill up your coffers. But when you're doing that, you need to be focused on making sure that you're spending 40 to 50% back into your business. But like Dennis was saying, also you need to make sure that you put 20 to 30% of those incomes into a long-term investment. Okay. And if you do that, 40% back in your business, that's going to keep the machine working today. That's going to keep your income high. 30% goes back into your long-term investments. That only leaves you guys with 30% for life. And that is tough. What I'm saying though, and like what Dennis was saying, that if you plan to purchase one property a year, that's going to be tough too, you guys. It's not easy to buy a $700,000, $800,000 home a year, right? Well, that depends how much effort you're putting in, right? With that said, though, is that it compounds. And after 3, 5, 10 years, you will see that hustle that you've been putting in, all those big commission checks, not only have you made a lot of money, but then you've allowed your money to grow beside you. And to me, you guys, that is super important. One of my absolute favorite things that you can put that 30% back into is a building, buying a building. And I know this is big, you guys, but buying a building for your offices that you can also, release out to other local businesses. It is a great profit, but it's also something great for taxes. So that is something to keep in mind is think like a business owner, plan out ahead. And then as soon as you get those checks and then you get that income, divide it up so that it can keep growing alongside of you. So that's what I got today.
Awesome. All right, this is gonna be cool. Since there's only a couple of us pinups, we're gonna open this up to everybody else shortly. So I'm gonna give you a couple things, kind of similar. Pete's trying to get, he's having trouble. Hold on a second. So I'm gonna tell you the best advice I got that I didn't use. And I was very blessed that I had 5 amazing mentors in my life. My dad was an amazing man, and I had 4 business owners that were mentors for me. My buddy Joe's dad was the richest of them. He made about $100 million. And so I made my first million at 23 years old with my paintball business. And he calls me over. He says, "Rich, I want to talk to you." He goes, "Now that you're making real money, I want to teach you how to create real wealth." And this is kind of going along with what you said, Dennis, but a little bit different twist. Because I want you to buy one house a year, no matter what it takes, for the next 20 years. At the end of 20 years, remember, I'm 23 years old. At the end of 20 years, I want you to sell the first 7. That will pay off the other 13. And then in 20 years, you'll have 13 paid off properties that you'll never have to work another day in your life. I am so kicking myself in the ass here at 65 years old that I didn't do that. Because at 43 years old, I would have been done. And I could have afforded it. But I was, I'm a spender. I like to spend my money. I like to enjoy my life. And my family dies young. I don't know why I outlived everybody, but shit, I'm screwed. Thank God for EXP and the revenue share. But it's an incredible, great wealth. And I think, Cam, you might have said this. It's really important that you take a percentage of every check you get and put it into an investment fund. And figure out what do you need for a down payment. You should not be paying cash fees. You leverage the banks, right? Leverage your money. If you talk to rich people most people don't pay cash. They leverage with loans or loans on their insurance policies. There's a whole another story behind that. Commercial, if you've ever thought about opening an office, buy a strip plaza. Buy a strip plaza with 5 units, right? And then you could have an office for you guys and have the other 4 units pay for it while creating wealth. I bought my first commercial building about 3 or 4 years ago. And so those are really important. And then the other way for us, and I'm gonna pitch a little bit here because I don't mean to, but it's here. Ancillary products. So I own partnerships in 14 title companies right now. And if you're interested in that, I can have a conversation about how I do that. I am partnered with, I think Chris is on here somewhere, with Chris Goodman and in mortgage, which we can do in all, I think, 46 states now. So if you're interested in having a mortgage partnership with us, let us know. We can do that for you. And I'm doing these because I'm trying to create cash flows for my family as I get older. And most of the stuff I have is residual, where I don't run the businesses. I own, like I said, a lot of title companies. I don't run those. I have people that run my businesses for me. I'm not going to run the mortgage company. That's what Chris's company does. Right? I'm strictly putting these partnerships in to make an extra $2 or $3 or $4 or $5,000 a month extra in revenue. Now, luckily, I'm making more than that with that. But think about how your life changes if you make an extra $3 or $4 or $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month, whatever that number is important to you. But ancillary products, because these are things you're doing already. You're already doing things, and you're giving lenders, who, by the way, never give you anything. You're giving lenders a deal where you can actually legally make money off that. Same thing, you could legally own a portion of a title company. And we're in 9 states with ours. But there's other people who do what I do. I'm not telling you got to use me or that stuff. I'm not trying to pitch you. I'm just showing that what I'm doing to create additional revenue for my family. Because in the end, that's all that matters. The other part of that is you guys, especially you young bucks that I saw all last week, you're all smiling at me right now. You guys think you're invincible, right? Like, I know I'm going to die soon, right? You guys think you're invincible. The reality is you're not. I have plenty of my friends that died in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Every year, every group of, and everybody who gets older has. In fact, you guys know you've lost friends in your age group. Anything could happen to you at any time. And so creating other side streams of revenue that happen that you can build in there if something happens to you, that's the key. And that's what you really need to think. That was why, I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody here is an EXP, so I'll talk about it real quick. That was the reason why I gave up almost $4 million with my brokerage to join EXP. My brokerage had no value if I died. Right? I die, it's over. Now, if I die, my family makes a lot of money. So all the stuff that I'm looking at for ancillary businesses, whether it's real estate, whether it's other businesses and stuff like that, is all based on living past me. If you buy rental properties, they live past you. And real estate held for a long term has always, always, always been the best wealth grower in the world. Right? I'm a terrible landlord, which is why I don't tend to own properties. I own a couple because I would never kick you out. I own properties before I owned a bunch of properties, and I can't pay the rent this month. Oh, don't worry about it. I own a commercial property. Business is bad. I can't pay the rent. Oh, don't worry about it. I would lose money on my rentals because I'm too nice. I'm not a landlord. So those are the things that I'm doing right now, but I'm a business guy. So for me, starting more companies or getting ownership in companies, helping other people understand ancillary services is really important, because the more you understand that, the more you can create this residual income. And I don't care what you read out there. I'll use Rich Dad, Poor Dad as a great example because it's a great book. That's what he talks about. How do you create a residual income life? And ultimately, right now, just with what I've already created, I don't need to work again. And that's the beauty of residual income. Okay. I'm going to pick on a couple of people here that I know. Like, I'm going to pick on Mr. Priscillo. Johnny, you're going to talk now.
Yes.
So, John, we're talking about creating wealth outside of just commissions. So I know you've done extremely well in this thing, and I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick because I ate 15 cups of tea today.
I'm on.
Talk for at least 5 minutes.
Okay, the camera's over here. Okay, no problem at all.
Go. I'll be right back.
It's actually one of my favorite subjects, actually. So we're in a model where we have three sources of income, and I try to do more than that, actually. And I call it transactions, which we've all done for years. I've 25 years in the business, and I've done over 1,000 transactions, not this year, but over my career, and add into that every year. And had my hands in a lot of them. This month I have like 9 or 10 pendings, and one assisted. So I'm active in the market. The transactions is what we've always done. That's what I've always done, and that's a way to build some cash flow. Outside of that, we've got ownership and partnership within the company, which is great, and I leverage that as well. I try to maximize that. Ownership is stock, and partnership is partnering up with other brokers, friends in the business, that you can help them grow. So that's what I like to do. I've done some other things as well outside of that, which is using your IRA funds from, I had 10 years in in the corporate world, I guess, in sales and automation and engineering, like the robotics world. So I put some money away before I got into real estate in an IRA, and I've leveraged that over the last 20 years to buy real estate within your IRA. So that's one thing you could do. That's pretty interesting, outside of the box concept. You can use your traditional IRA, own a piece of property within it. Ideally, if you're going to make a lot of money on it, you're going to roll that into a Roth and never pay tax on it. So that's a great way to do it. But a lot of real estate in my portfolio, so to speak. I'm in a building here, got about 3,000 square feet in downtown Carmel, Indiana, and I have a restaurant downstairs. It's not my restaurant, but we lease out to them, my floor, and upstairs to my mortgage guy. So again, long-term deferred, I call it deferred gratification. That's something that y'all can do. Find a piece of property, put yourself in it, and you'll have some tax advantages for doing that. So I threw a lot of spaghetti at the wall there, Mitch, and you're back. So if anybody wants to reach out and talk about any of those aspects of real estate, I'd be happy to talk to them.
Yeah, I think one of the things I think I heard you say this as I was walking back in the room, buying property through your 401k and your IRAs is an amazing way to build your wealth, right? It's great. And John, do you do trust for everything that you're doing?
No, if you do stuff in your IRA, I'm going to use a dramatic example, which isn't a very pretty one, but O.J. Simpson had a retirement account, and
he chopped it off. I heard.
He did. He may have, but that was untouchable. So it's sort of anything in your retirement account, as long as you follow the rules, it's untouchable. For whatever happens. So that's almost like a trust. It's got some protection around it. So LLCs, you've got to put some LLCs together for your properties to protect yourselves, and don't commingle funds. Try to keep your books. My wife's an accountant, so I have pretty good QuickBooks files on all that stuff, and just keep everything squeaky clean. That's what I like to do.
Right. So do you do an LLC for every property?
Not every property. When you get, here in Indiana, you can buy multiple properties and not have a ton of money in it. So I think when it gets up to a reasonable amount where you're worried that, hey, they might be able to take all my income in the future, or separate it. So if it's $1 million property, you probably should have a separate LLC for it, for example. If it's a couple $100,000, you might combine a couple, 2 or 3 together. It's because the bookwork is easier.
Right.
But, you got to pay accountants for every LLC.
Right. I was told by my advisor, LLC for everyone, just because of liability, and if they go after one property and you have 4 properties, and they go after all 4 properties.
Yeah. I guess it's a give and take. It's how much is it going to be to maintain it versus piling of 2 or 3 together. Gets up to a certain amount, you may think about changing that concept and opening a new one. But if it's a different type of business, definitely a different LLC. And then everybody in this room should be, if you're in a real estate business, you should be a taxed as an S corp. And take payroll. That's another. I'm not a CPA, but one of my first advisors he was an IRS agent, and he sat down with me, and I gave him my first taxes. He said, I could save you about $8,000. I said, I'm all ears. And so that was the technique a lot of people use. These S corp, tax as an S corp, but still protected and in a mine's a professional corporation, but you can use a single member LLC or what have you. But there's a million strategies that I've learned over 25 years, right? And you don't have to do them overnight, but that's one of the first ones you should do. Make
Yeah,
make sure you're on payroll system.
it's amazing to me how many people that I meet in our industry that don't have 401k set up, don't have IRA set up, don't have a good tax accountant. I mean, I get to write off a ton of money every year because I have a really good accountant. And I push the envelope. She'll call me. No, you can't do that one, Mitch. Sorry. I'm like, I tried. But the thing is, like, I travel a decent amount. Like, I'm going to Boston to go to my annual Red Sox game in June. Let me have 5 or 6 day vacation. Plus, I'm going to see Paul Simon at the same time, and that'll all be a write off. So everything where I traveled around the country a couple of years ago. My wife and I took a month off and traveled around the country. It was a very expensive trip. Wrote the whole thing off. Because the nice thing about being with EXP, we have agents in 30 countries, so you can literally travel to any of those countries and write your whole trips off. I went to Greece 2 years ago, wrote the whole trip off. Talked to one realtor while I was there, a real estate agent. So I don't think we have any of our other panelists on. So I want to open this up to everybody else here. Who in here is doing stuff? I know, David, you're doing a lot of buying and selling of properties.
Yeah.
Maybe you could talk a little bit about that for everybody.
Yeah, of course. And the other thing I want to throw it out is when you're investing into the property, you need to do your homework on the state you're invested in because, for example, there's several states in the United States that don't actually recognize a single member LLC. So that means that if a person sues you, that it doesn't matter if you have it in an LLC or not. If that state don't recognize a single member LLC, then they recognize an LLC as you. So that's why you want to be careful and you always want to structure your business based on the state that you're investing in. Like me, I don't hold every asset in the same LLC. I use one LLC for buying, one to hold, and one for selling. And I created it up as a tier-based system to where all the LLCs underneath it, and it's like a tree. So all the money funnels up, and I keep everything in there. So that way the LLCs act as DUT LLCs. So if I ever get sued, then you can't sue me for anything because I don't own anything. I don't even own the office I'm in now. I don't own my truck. I don't own anything. And that's the way that you need to structure it. But I'm not a CPA. I'm not a tax expert. I just know how to play the game well, like everybody else. So,
yeah, and it is all about playing the game. I mean, the reality is all this stuff there's a lot of opportunity for everybody to generate extra revenue and or better taxes just based on understanding the rules. It starts to me with a really good CPA. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, if you don't have a good CPA, they're not giving the best advice. Also, a financial advisor that knows more than just, I'll buy the stock for you.
Yeah, I'll tell you that if you want to really start getting into investing, that the important thing is that you need a tax guy and you need to have an attorney on your side and you need to have a bank. Those are the three important pillars to any business that you create. Any business, anybody that creates multiple businesses, those are the three important pillars. Like me, I target only the STRs. I don't go for like the long-term side of things or anything else like that. I used to own like big apartment buildings, stuff like that, but I don't really care about that stuff because the short-term rental is a business that I can sell. And like me, with me managing properties, I can sell that one off as a separate entity. And then I can still sell off each individual real estate asset that I own. And the ROI is a lot better than anything else. Like we bought a $1.8 million house here, and this house generates $420,000 a year. So I don't believe in Ross. I don't believe in like having a 401k. I know a lot of people do, but like me, I'm in the business to create my own RIT. So I create my own RIT. I manage funds for multiple different investors and people. So that's kind of how I built my business here is I created a RIT. I told people that I'm not just a real estate agent. I'm going to be your financial advisor, but I can't use the word financial advisor, but I did go to school for it. So that's kind of what I kind of do here to build the business because a lot of the major people and the players in the game, how they got started a long time ago, Mitch, you can probably speak on this a little bit, but a real estate agent wasn't a real estate agent. A real estate agent was an advisement company that managed people's assets. So if you get into the game instead of stop helping people buy and sell, but you start helping people manage all their assets, and you'll get really big clients. These clients will buy thousands of homes with you over the course of the next 10 to 15 years if you do it right. If you screw them over and you just try to sell them the first house just to get a quick check, then they're never going to buy again. So I target homes that I'm going to make people a lot of money on, and I scale like their actual rental portfolio. Like I took a 21-year-old to owning zero, and now his net worth is $2.1 million. So, and those are the type of people that are going to talk about you, and that's going to bring you a lot more business too.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, one of my agents here locally is your typical New Yorker, little guy thinks he's cool. I can't like New Yorkers being a Boston guy. It's just against my religion. But he got into the flipping business, and what he did was pretty interesting. He had zero money, like most realtors, right? And he went in and worked on a deal with a couple of investors that he would find the properties, he would manage the properties, he would do all the work to get the properties sold again, but he wanted 50% of the profit. And he had 3 or 4 people that he was doing that for, and so he ended up doing about um, 5 or 6 a year. Now he's doing about 12 to 15 a year, but now he's using his own money. So he took all the money that he made from those flips. It was a lot of work. Now he's doing the exact same thing, except he's getting 100% of the profits because he doesn't need the investors anymore. So just because you don't have money doesn't mean you can't play this game. You can still play the game. You just got to work out the deals and find the right investor.
And guys, like the same thing Mitch was saying is the same thing that I did for years before I had enough money to invest. But the way I did it was I told an investor that I'm going to do everything. You know, I was their guy on site. I managed the materials. I did the spreadsheets. I sent them how much money was being spent. And at that time, that's when I hired out a few other people and I brought some people on. But then that way I sold them the house and I was able to sell the house again. So that way I made money. And once I had enough money, my first investment here in Georgia was I bought a $20,000 lot and I went and created a joint partnership with the builder. And I said, hey, builder, I'll give you like this land for free. So I gave it to him for free, but it wasn't necessarily for free. So I told him I'll give him this 20 grand land, but I want to make $40,000. So I made $20,000 profit.
Right.
But on the building side, if you don't know how it works with loans and stuff like that, a builder is able to borrow a lot more LTC on the loan if the land is owned free and clear, so they can use the equity in the land. So therefore, their leveraging power is a lot more, and they can spread it out farther. So what I did was I just became a silent partner. I didn't really want my name on it because now I would have to go through the whole thing where I'm telling them that a licensed realtor owns this property, blah blah blah. So I created it on the side. I basically did a promissory note on it, and then I sent it to the closing attorney. The closing attorney paid me separate out of the proceeds the builder got, and I did that over and over again until I had enough money to buy bigger tracts of land. So fast forward to now, my last deal with them, I bought a $250,000 partial, and that one was 81 townhomes that got put on it. So I'll be the agent listing all 81 townhomes. And the profits that I'll have on this is going to be almost the same that the builder will have. But on that land, I'm gonna get paid an extra 150 grand back on it. So I get that, plus I'm making about $2.3 million in sales after I sell all 81 townhomes. So, and that's kind of how, if there's no inventory out there, I built my own inventory. And that's why I started buying land, started doing all these other things, because I wanted to basically try to do anything I could to invest, because you got to invest in yourself. And once you start investing and you talk to these investors, these builders, you can show them proof, because people work really well when you can show them proof. Because there's a lot of agents that I've met that they'll help an investor, but how? How are you helping an investor if you don't personally do it? Like there's no, like you have no skin in the game. So, you know, therefore, like the trust factor goes away if you can't show it.
Yeah, and it's true. So part of this in my brain is it's a mindset issue with a lot of people. A lot of people, and I talk to realtors literally half a dozen every single day, and the mindset is that you have a job as a realtor. And what you really need to think is you have a business as a realtor. So you're running a real estate business, and every business I've ever owned, the most important part of my business is generating revenue streams. And the more revenue streams you have with that business, the more you have. When one's a little bit slower, you get the other one back, or you're maximizing your time versus living commission check to commission check. So the key of being strategic, and it's not hard. Like I said, you don't have to have any money. I bought my first piece of land. Actually, it's kind of a cool story. I tied it up it was $100,000 lot. It was 30 acres in Massachusetts. This is going back a while. I tied it up for $5,000, and I gave myself a 4-month first due diligence time period, which they went along with, and I sold it for $250,000 during that 4 months. Cost me $5,000.
And
David?
like the thing we have too is like everybody on this call, I guarantee you everybody knows at least 10 actual people. It don't have to be agents, but you have 10 friends, right? So that's the other way that I did it is I started trying to figure out how can I crowdfund. So, but the way I did it was I gave everybody an equal share. I wasn't greedy. I'm not going to give you a small amount of money because if I'm honest with everybody and true with everybody, I'm always going to get paid back a lot of money. So anybody I bring onto a deal, everybody shares the profits all the way. And I was able to acquire a lot more assets without using a lot of my personal cash by bringing a lot more people on the deal. So there's one deal I'm doing now, and I got 18 people on the deal. But the difference is we're all in on this property 850,000, and we got it listed right now on the market for 2.1 million, and it's worth every penny of it. We got an appraisal at 2.6. So with these things, if you use the people that you know, like me, where I have a team, I let all of our agents, if they want to put in money on the deal, I let them buy in on a deal. Because the more people you make money, the happier everybody else is going to be around you. So, and if you can create an additional revenue stream for your agents, then naturally agents are not going to be stressed about money. So they're going to work harder, they're going to work stronger, and they're going to want to show up every day because now you were the one that created a revenue stream for them that they never had.
Right. Yeah, it's a great point, David. You know, if you're running a team, why not buy a building and have your agents participate in the ownership of the building? I'm with you, David, on greed. I have zero greed. I just don't care. I've made millions, lost millions. I don't care. If you help other people achieve what your talent is, we talked last week in Nashville about superpowers. Like that's your superpower day, right? And it is. I mean, you're phenomenal. I mean, I know you're incredible. So, if you have a superpower and you can use that superpower to help other people gain wealth, you got people for life. But leveraging is what it's all about. When I started the first online dating service, I didn't have any money at all. I was literally broke. I was able to only give away 25% of the company and raise $3 million. So I still retained 75% of the company by raising money, but it was a great opportunity for everybody. Of course, it fell apart because the internet bubble of 2000, which again, you youngins don't remember that. But John remembers that.
Yep.
And so take advantage of the people you know. Everybody knows people with money. If you, like Dave said, if you could show them how to make money, they're going to invest in your project. And we're really trusted. We're looked at as the people that know all about real estate. Right, and everybody knows that real estate's the best investment there is. Who else wants to share some stuff? We got plenty of time here for sharing other ways that you guys are taking advantage of growing your wealth in the real estate business.
We learned last week, Mitch, that when problems are solved, money transfers hands. That's true. And sounds like that's what David's doing. He's solving problems. I know a ton of people that I really didn't pursue to gather funds because I didn't have something right in front of me. And what David has done is he's created some opportunities. He's taking control of the situation, either investing in the land or the building or what have you, and pulled a bunch of people in. I could do that very easily as well.
Well, you are, because all of you work with investors. We all have investor friends. I got like 40 investors on my phone, and so if I found something that made sense, I could pull together probably majority of them as a cash. So you and this is what I want you to get out of this call today. You do not have to have money to make money.
No. And Mitch, I think that a person posted a question in the chat. They said, if you have 20K to invest, 675 credit score, how would you start your investment? Or what strategy do you think would be the best to get skin in the game and build your passive income or investment money up?
So go ahead. I'll let you answer that. Go for it.
So I'll tell you that it's not about the amount of money that you have. It's about the structure. Like me, take it back to 2018. I bought a $2.4 million property and I didn't put any money in. There's a thing called gap funding. So I went and I borrowed. And what these companies do is if you get like a business line of credit, there's 504C out there. There's all these different things that you have access to that you don't need to put your cash into the deal. but you have to know the resources out there on where to get the funds at. So I basically borrowed $380,000. It was three other loans that I did attached to it. Now, again, I did it because the property made a lot of money, so I didn't care. But I went and all this funds was sent over to me, and these loans didn't have to be attached to like the title. It didn't have to be attached to anything because the way they work is it's unsecured lines of credit. Now, of course, I pay like 18 and 21% interest, but I didn't care because it's about money. I don't care what the interest rate is. I don't care what anything is because I care about how much money it's coming in. Because there's a thing called good positive debt, and then you got bad debt. So I counteract all my bad debt with my positive debt. So anytime I acquire an asset, like me, whenever I went outside, yeah, I don't know how many people saw it, but at the meeting we had, I drive a big truck. Truck's $120,000. But instead of putting money down on that truck, what I did is I went and got a loan transferred over to the business. The business has a loan now over to me that pays me. I don't own the truck. I write off the interest on the loan and the interest that comes over to me. But then the down payment I would have put down on that truck, I went and bought a house. Now the house brings in equity. Now the money from the revenue stream pays off like that truck. So you always got to figure out what your level of comfort zone is. But you can get really big investments out there. You just got to know how to go get the funds. So if I had $20,000 gets you a $100,000 house. And there's loans. You got DSCRs. You got a hard money loan. There's loans out there. If you partner with other people that have experience and give them, say you want to give them 70% of the profits, and you'll take 30 because you don't have enough money yet, but they have experience. With experience means that you can put 10% down instead of 20 or instead of 25. So then you can put 10% down. Now you went from 100 grand up to $200,000 you can purchase, and you can fund the whole entire thing. So it doesn't mean you got to have a lot of money. It means you got to have some money, and you only need a 640 for an investment loan. It does. It's
640 really. Wow. Yeah. So there's and one of you guys might know this. I don't know the answer to this. I wish Pete was on because Pete told me about it. But there's also when you're buying property now, instead of having depreciation over 27 years or something like that, you can depreciate now like the first year.
Yeah, that right there is called cost segging. So that's the smart thing about buying a house too. So instead of y'all paying in all these taxes at the end of the year, because I get hit with a big tax bill every year. But if you buy a property, the first year you own the property, you can cost seg that, and you can write off the first 40% of the property value that you bought it for. And you can only do that for the first year. And if you talk to your CPA and ask him to do a cost seg for you, and he says no, it's stupid, then you need to fire him, because the CPAs don't want to do it because it takes a lot of time. Doing a cost seg is not easy. I've done about 3 of them, but they're really not easy. And if you have a CPA, then you need a CFP too. Those are the other things that's going to help you out a lot, especially with the tax harvesting strategies and stuff like that you need to be doing every day.
Yeah, CFP is Certified Financial Planners for those that don't know what that means. Because I saw some people go, "What the hell's a CFP? Is that a firefighter?"
There's another one, Mitch. Unless you had something you wanted to dive in.
Nope. I'm just trying
another example. So the people that you like David was talking about, you build trust with them, and you show them that you're not out there for their back pocket every time to help them out. So just had somebody recently move, and they have a commercial building here. And so I listed their house, sold it in a week, listed 2 of their offices, so at least both of those offices out, and there's one left. But I started out by telling them, I'm like, I want to own your building. I want to be, and so I started out there and I said, okay, I'm going to change these leases, so you're going to make more money on them, because I want to own your building. And it's going to help us both. And one tenant just moved in, and they just put new floors in. They didn't ask for any credits or anything, so they're really happy right now. And but down the road, there's going to be a tax capital gains kind of deal, because they bought down here, and there's going to be a capital gains hit. So one of my conversations I've had with them is, why don't I just, I'm good for it. You've known me for 15 years or whatever. Why don't we I just pay over time, so they could be the bank basically for me, and I could just buy the building. They're out of state now. They're not going to want this one piece of, this really good building, by the way. And that's an opportunity But in the meantime, I'm doing transactions with them, and I may always get commissions off this deal, right? So you could even use the credit on your commission as part of your down payment, stuff like that. So that's how you can do it without taking a lot of money out of your pocket.
Yeah, and like the other thing, a lot of people don't know, there's a big difference in a deed and what a title is. So everybody out here, I know everybody hates it whenever everybody gets those calls asking that if they'll do some type of creative deal with the seller, whatever the case may be. You can do the same thing. As much as we hate those people are making thousands of dollars because the title is basically how it's held. A deed is the person who owns it. So whenever you get a mortgage on it, it's on the deed, right? It's not on title. So title can be transferred as many times as you want. A deed is something totally different. So a seller can transfer the title, they can hold the mortgage, closing attorney can draft all that stuff up if you're in a title state. I'm in a closing attorney state, so it's different for me. But you can easily go out there and get and acquire a lot of deeds, a lot of titles, because right now people can't pay their mortgage. People that got the 5 and the 6s and the 7%, like as in the next year, there's going to be a big opportunity if you're trying to invest. And if you're smart, you can do your homework. You can do the research on who's about to go into a foreclosure process and who's not. And you can start calling those people to acquire. Basically, what you're saying is, hey, I'm going to pay everything on your mortgage. I'll be the one paying all your payments. So sign the title over, because anybody can sign the title over without having approval from the mortgage company.
No, I didn't even
Question.
know
I got a question for you, David. Because I know a bunch of people have questions going into, you went through a ton of stuff here, which is great. Where would you recommend someone that doesn't know this stuff, right? Like imagine yourself back in like 2012. Where would you send them for resources to start gaining knowledge on these things that you're talking about? Where would you look for? Where would you have them go look?
So the first thing I did is I went online and I searched for groups, because people are always posting in these groups, stuff like that. I never paid for a person to show me, anything. I just read. If you read books, I went online, I watched videos, I listened to other people talk. Like all this information is online now. It's not like whenever Mitch was a kid back in the 40s. I mean, now we got the internet, it's really good now. So now you can search.
I love you too.
But the other thing, like the easiest thing y'all can do, if you don't have a lot of money, what I did, because in my area, there isn't a place to where a seller can get funds to fix up their house before you put it on the market. I know there's a bunch of different places now that you can reach out to, but I started basically putting in my own cash for a seller. So, and I would cap it out. Like I went to a seller and I invested like $10,000 and I made money on it. So I did a promissory note, sent it in. They had to list with me. And on that money that I did, I made an extra $8,000. But I also made them an extra $40,000 on the deal because I put all brand new floors in their house. So what I did when I first came into Georgia, because I was in the military, I didn't know anybody here. I was just a random person. So I found all of the positive people in the world. I found all the subcontractors. I went to building sites. I went to Lowe's. I waited out there at 8 a.m. in the morning. I watched all the subcontractors come in when they're picking up their materials. I got their information. I got an app on my phone because I can't speak any other language but English. But I started translating and I found a list of subs. And then I just started using them to funnel them in and out between sellers' houses. So I would front it up. I would go open up a line of credit with the store. I would put all the materials on that credit card. Once the house sold, I paid that off because I didn't have to pay interest on it for the next 180 days. Houses normally will sell in 180 days, and I picked the right houses. And then I just put my own money in the deal, made the seller a lot of money, and there was no realtor in my area that was doing this. So then I just got a shit ton of business because everybody was like, hey, if you're home, instead of selling it as is, if you want to make top dollar market, if you call David, he's going to help you out. He has the contractors, he has the resources to make this happen for you. And that's an easy way to make some quick cash. And if you open up an LLC, you can go get a line of credit. A bank cannot tell you no. You go open up an LLC, the bank will give you a $50,000 loan. It's free. Of course, everybody has to pay all their money back, but you don't have to do anything. Like your business don't have to be established. You just need to have an LLC. And they'll go give you a $50,000 check. So there's no reason why nobody should have a question about, oh, I don't have money to invest, that the money's there. We just got to go out there and get it.
Yeah, I think part of the problem and I think, and David, this has been invaluable even I'm like living a shit low here, or as you say, a shit ton. Which I've always wondered what a shit ton is. Is that a lot of shit, or what is that? But yeah, the reality is you're a lot of people have such limiting beliefs on their abilities that they don't do it. They just sit there and they become most realtors, and you guys, I've been there, so I understand it. You're transactional, and the problem transactional doesn't translate if something happens to you. It doesn't work. Who else wants to share something? Anybody else? We have about 10 more. Anybody have questions for anybody? But I'm sure most people want to ask David questions because he's probably the smartest guy in the group here, and John. Anybody have any questions for these guys on what they're doing, because they're obviously doing it right in the real estate space?
See, Ross is on. Ross? I know he's got a lot of good stuff on investing, building,
Hey,
and growing.
Ross. I didn't see Ross there. It must be the glasses. Ross, you want to share anything? I know you're driving. Do you want to share anything that from what you've been doing to create revenue outside of the real estate world?
You're muted, Ross.
There he is.
Yeah, sorry, it's the magical button I couldn't find. That sounded weird. All right, so I love what like listening to David and John talk. Like, great job, guys. That's freaking fantastic. And David, sounds like you're building an empire. How cool is that? A lot of the stuff that David was implementing, I was doing in California, and until the cost of construction and dirt prices made absolutely no sense. But, you know, I was talking to a gentleman in our group last night, Mark, another Bostonian, and he was like, we were talking about collaboration, and how cool is it in this group that you have somebody like David that you can contact and be like, dude, sounds like deals make a lot of sense over there in Georgia. How can I get involved? That's huge, because it may not be working in your backyard right now.
He froze.
Have this group for collaboration, and what, like, if we're talking about superpowers and offerings, like, David, dude, you have so much to bring, and what an attraction tool it would be to be able to navigate people down this road. So I was just sitting here, my mind's turning in 1,000 different ways on, like, dude, we got to get this guy in front of people, because then his co-sponsorship rate's going to go up like 10 million%. Anyways, you're a genius, man. Great work. And John, I love your creative ideas. Pace Morby does the same talk, how to, you know, build an empire with $0. And guys, there's 5 to 7 year arms that are out there that people bought with, you know, in 2020, anticipating for prices or, you know, rates to remain where they are or come down, and now they've doubled. And now their payments are out of hand, and those bubbles are out to pop, and they don't have the equity because it hasn't risen to the occasion to be able to pay that note off. There's going to be a lot of bubbles starting to pop. So in commercial space, in residential, if you have any way to find out who had a 5 to 7 year arm in 2020, those are the people you want to be contacting right now, because they're probably in a world of hurt, and they're like, dude, just take me out of this deal. And that's a good opportunity to use the practices that David was talking about. I think that's good. A book that I would encourage you all to read is Retire in 10 Years or Less. This is about building wealth and using insurance policies to build a vault of your own money, that as you take money out of it, you can continue to earn interest on the full amount, purchase properties, refi out, replenish or add to your vault, and that vault will be there as a, you know, a safety net if something were to happen to you. It's a great protection for your family or for your own assets, whatever it is that you're trying to protect. There's so many different ways you can go about it, but my eyes are being open to so many other opportunities through being a part of that group that I joined, which is called Wealth Outside of Wall Street. So I would read what Ryan D. Lee is putting down, and Retire in 10 Years or Less. And that would be a good resource to start, because you don't need a lot of money. And if you do want to translate that 401k or your SEP into something that's going to not ride the waves of Wall Street and lock at peaks and not go down to valleys, it's a really good way to protect yourself and your assets, and then be able to build more wealth with passive, and then building that large portfolio. So those would be my inputs. Everyone else brought the practical aspects to it more than perfectly. Excellent job, guys. Like I'm inspired by you guys. Way to go.
That's great stuff. Is Dave frozen there? Dave looks like he's frozen.
Oh, I'm still here.
Are you there? No. So Dave lost him. You there, Dave?
Okay, sorry. I was in a meeting that I couldn't get out of. So I don't know what was said, but I'm sure you all came up with a lot of other good things, but I can tell you how I live my life for a lot of my life. And it's very simple. And, I obviously buy real estate. I bought and sold 170 properties in real estate, right? So everybody should be buying it. But if you don't have the money to buy, just do this simple, very simple process. You live off of 70% of your income. So for me, I make money, 10% goes to donations, tithes, to things that I'm passionate about, because I believe when you start by giving, you just get blessed. 10% of the money that you make always has to go into a savings account. So you should have 6 months of reserves. 10% should go into investments, even if it's a little bit of money, $500 a month for, putting in a mutual fund or something like that will grow over time. And then you have 70% left. And of course, the 70% out of that, you live and you pay your taxes. So if you do that simple thing, and because anybody can start with that, by whatever you make, that's it. Right now, it's a little harder when you're commission based. But what do we do most of the time? We get a big old fat commission, and then we're looking at a new car or a boat, or we're looking at something, right? And if you buy a boat, and then if you put all that money into a mutual fund, and then look at it when you're ready to retire versus that boat, those numbers are big. So I didn't want to get in. I could have done a lot of other things that I prepared for, but since I only had a couple minutes and I was so late, I wanted to share that principle that I've tried to live by my whole life.
Cool. And I'm going to give you, we had a couple of minutes. I'm going to give you one more tip, because I know we're all EXP agents here, so I'm going to talk as an EXP agent for a minute. The revenue share opportunity, even if you don't want to do recruiting, is the best opportunity of your life. It's free. You make, if they cap $1,400 a year off each one, right? And it's like having a rental property. I remember when Fortune Builders came over, I met with Dan, who runs owns Fortune Builders, and that was our conversation. I said, think of every person that you introduce to EXP as a rental property. But here's the cool thing about rental properties. If you own a rental property, especially if you're financing rental properties, the $200-$300 a month profit on the rental property, right? If you get a full mortgage on it, and you can sit there and continue to own these properties, but once you have an AC leak, you could lose a year's worth of revenue or 2 years worth of revenue and profits. But each agent you introduce to EXP doesn't go away, meaning they don't break, their AC doesn't break. My wife through menopause, I guess her AC broke, but bad joke for my wife. Again, you wouldn't get that, but anyways, but every person is. But then it expands. The one thing about rental properties they don't do, unless you keep investing more money and time, is they don't expand. Your revenue share group expands in your sleep. So as you continue to grow it just continues to grow, and it's another it's another way to create revenue. Now you have, say you start making $10,000 a month in revenue share, $5,000 a month in revenue share. Take all that money and buy property with it, right? Invest that money properly. It's a good opportunity. We got 2 more minutes. Anybody else want to have any closing statements before we just go into the abyss of life for the next week?
I'll just put it out. I'm going to put my cell phone number in the chat. I'm always here to help anybody out. I can run deals. This is what I've been doing. I don't just invest here in Georgia. We have houses, and everywhere. I know a lot of people, not in all the states, but that's why we have the tribe. The tribe knows a lot of people in all the states that can run your deals too. And that's why we're trying to create this powerful group of people so that way we can lean on each other. But I got my phone number in there if anytime anybody wants to talk about investing. This is what I do every day. I don't even really sell as much anymore, but I deal with the investors, the builders, and I'm a builder too. So this is kind of what I do every day. So if I can help anybody, I 100% will. And I'm always willing to bring other people on, especially here. We have probably about 243 homes planned right now for the next 3 years. So there's a lot of things moving in this area.
Dave, it'd be cool if you could put together maybe a list of your projects that you're looking for investments in, and I can get that out to the entire organization. Probably create a bunch of you're so good at it. It'd be nice to have that opportunity to throw money towards you to do what you do best.
I did. I went and called Pete. I gave him a deal of a lifetime. He didn't want to buy it. I gave Pete, it was a seller deal. The seller was willing to let you only put 10% down. It was a gas station. And the traffic count for that gas station was 224,000 cars a day, which is pretty major. And
we need a list of all of them. We need a list of all your deals, and then we can all start investing in them, David.
Yeah, but I bet if you're looking for investors, I got 2,200 agents. We can finance all your deals. All right, we're at 1 o'clock. Let's hop off. But that was a great call. Thanks for sharing, David, John, especially. You guys shared a lot of really phenomenal stuff. There's lots of ways to make money, guys. Don't just do transactions. That's not the way to get rich. So, all right, talk to y'all later. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, guys.